Hello, my name is Walker Wilson. Here with me are Connor, John, and Leah, and today we will be talking about our clients for whom we have prepared this financial plan for. They are Mr. and Mrs. Hart, who are happily married with a 2-year-old daughter living in Lexington, Kentucky. Mrs. Hart is 32 and graduated with her doctorate 3 years ago and is now working as a pediatrician making a salary of $173,000 a year. Mr. Hart graduated from college 10 years ago and has been working at the same elementary school since he graduated and is currently making a salary of $53,000 a year. After taxes, approximately their combined income is $160,000 annually. The couple purchased a home recently, so they are now working to pay off that debt as quickly as possible. They own 2 vehicles, one which is paid off, another which still has outstanding debt. Mrs. Hart has a large amount of student loan and credit card debt for medical school, which the couple hopes to pay towards paying down. In addition, saving for their daughter's future college expenses is a very important goal for the couple. Mr. Hart spends the summer at home with their 2-year-old daughter to help lessen child care costs. The couple is considering having another child, which is one thing that has spurred them to take a look at their financials to see if it is the right time for them to have another child at their current debt level. The couple is very committed to saving as much as they can for retirement so they can retire early and have enough money to live comfortably and travel around the world. The couple does not currently have a life insurance policy, disability insurance, or will, which is something that is of great concern of theirs now that they are parents, as they want to provide for their daughter if anything were to happen to them. The couple is also working towards saving an emergency fund that will be able to cover 6 months of wages. So in summary, their financial goals boil down to paying off debts, including mortgage, car payment, credit cards, and student loans, save for retirement, provide collegiate education for their child or children, review and revise their insurance policies, and save for an emergency fund that will cover at least 6 months of wages. And now Connor will take over.
Hey guys, I'm Connor Widman and I will be talking about the Harts' monthly budget, assets, and liabilities. After talking with the Harts, we have created this budget for their monthly expenditures. If the Harts can follow this budget each month, they should have enough money to cover their monthly expenses, incrementally pay off their debts, and save for emergencies. Their combined monthly income is $13,300. Therefore, they should contribute about $2,365 to savings, have debt payments of $4,200 a month, which we added up to have a 36% debt to income ratio, and $2,825 to 401ks. Mr. and Mrs. Hart have a joint checking account that currently has $5,000. In addition, they have $48,000 saved in case of an emergency. The Harts bought a $500,000 house 2 years ago and were able to put down 10% or $50,000, and they currently have $70,000 equity in the home. They have 2 cars, a 2016 Toyota Camry and a 2013 BMW 3 Series. They bought the Camry new 3 years ago, took out a 5-year loan, and have 2 years left to pay off the car. They bought it for $24,000 and currently pay $400 per month on the loan. They bought the BMW used in 2014 and it was recently paid off. They are currently putting 15% of their income into their 401ks and each of their employers match a percentage of their incomes. They currently have a combined balance of $410,000 in their 401ks. The Harts have $8,500 currently accumulated in a 529 plan after an initial investment of $5,000 2 years ago, and $1,200 has been added each year for the past 2 years at an 8% growth rate. And finally, Mr. Hart has approximately $5,000 worth of collector's items. Mr. and Mrs. Hart still owe $540,000 on their 30-year house mortgage. They have an outstanding loan balance of $10,000 for their Toyota Camry. Mrs. Hart utilized student loans to put herself through medical school and currently owes $200,000 on the student loans. Mrs. Hart used credit cards for living expenses during medical school and currently owes $25,000 in credit card debt. She is aggressively paying off the remaining balance and hopes to have it paid off in the next 5 years. The Harts currently have more liabilities than assets, Therefore, they have a negative net worth of about $204,000. Now I'm going to pass it on to John.
Hi, I'm John Quigley. We're going to take a look at the Hart family statement of net worth. So as you can see, their total assets equal to $571,000, while their liabilities are $775,000. This makes the Hart family's net worth a total of negative $204,000. This is largely because of Mrs. Hart's outstanding $200,000 student loans. But with our financial guidance, we want to help the family reach a positive net worth and reach that early retirement. So let's look at some of the recommendations we have for them. First and foremost, we want the Hart family to prioritize paying down their debts. They currently maintain a 34% debt to income ratio, with 36 being the maximum recommended. This means we do not want the Hart family to incur any more debt. Presently, Mrs. Hart carries $25,000 in credit card debt, but with $600 payments every month for the next 5 years, this can be zeroed out. The family's locked in to a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage at 4% for $450,000. Mrs. Hart has $200,000 in student loans, as previously stated. These have a 5% interest rate, and with $1,300 payments for the next 20 years, these can be paid off as well. We want the Hart family to prioritize paying off the credit card debt before considering additional payments on the mortgage or the student loan debt, because this is the highest interest rate that they have. Additionally, we want the Hart family to continue to be vigilant on saving for retirement. They presently have $410,000 combined in their retirement accounts. Both earners are contributing 15% into their 401ks, which amounts to $42,000 annually. We want them to continue maximizing the benefit of their employers matching their contributions, Mrs. Hart with 3% and Mr. Hart with 5%. And to reach their financial objective of providing education for their children, we want them to continue to make the regular contributions to the 529 account. The $5,000 initial contribution to the account comes from Mrs. Hart's grandparents, but the couple is committed to contributing $100 monthly for the next 18 years at 8% average annual return. Will give each child $70,000 to take care of college-related expenses. As we mentioned, we want the family to consider purchasing a life insurance policy. Mrs. Hart is the primary earner of the household and should especially consider this given that she has large amounts of outstanding debt and young children. A $2.5 million 30-year term life insurance policy comes to a monthly cost of $135, as we outlined in our budget. And finally, we want the Hart family to create that emergency savings fund. They presently have $48,000 in their savings, which is a good start, but to meet the 6 months of wages as is recommended, we want them to be at that $80,000 mark. To reach that goal, all they need to do is stick to this budget we detailed, and they'll be there in 14 months.
In conclusion, if the Harts follow our financial plan, they are on track to reach financial freedom. In 5 years, all of their credit card debt will be paid off. In 17 years, they will be free of student loans. And in 28 years, their mortgage will be completely paid off, making them debt-free at the age of 61. They will be able to retire at the age of 65 with $13 million in their savings account, or they have the option to retire earlier. They will also be able to provide at least partial college education for their children. And on top of all that, they will be retiring comfortably with a Hardy savings account until their untimely death. Thank you for listening to our financial plan.